I think maybe tying it to brushing my teeth at night might be the easiest thing to tie it to.
So that was the end note of my coaching session with Brighton West. My name is Jennifer Starr, and I'm a Master Certified Coach. And this was Brighton's first time as being a client, and he offered permission to share this. At the end of the video, there'll be two options for you. One option is for coaches, and that will be a video of a recording by a mentor coach who's offering feedback on the coaching. And the second option is for one of my colleagues that will be breaking down the coaching session for those of you that maybe haven't been coached before or want to hear more about what's actually going on in the coaching session. So for now, let's dive into the session with Brighton. So Brighton, it's good to see you again.
It is so good to see you too, Jennifer.
Where are you these days?
So currently I am in Portland, Oregon. So it's a little, well, actually there is some sun behind me, which is surprising.
Yeah. So, and you've been traveling.
Yes. Yeah. Spent the last 5 months down in Mexico at our home down there. And yeah, so it's a little bit, yeah. I'm back here in Oregon a little early, I think.
Yeah. I just got back from Mexico too, and I thought of you and anyway, well, here we are. And you told me you haven't been coached before with all the people you work with.
Yes, I have never been coached before, and I only know that because I've been with enough coaches to know what coaching is. I have hired coaches before, but gotten consultants, which have been wonderful consultants, but they weren't coaches. Or they might have been coaches, but they weren't coaching.
Okay.
So I'm looking for some real coaching.
Well, you'll get to have a little bit of that today because that's what I do.
Perfect.
We have about 25, 30 minutes or so together, right? And you and I have never really worked in this capacity before.
Correct.
What's important for me to know about you that makes things comfortable and easy to sort of explore together with someone you haven't worked with before?
I don't know. I feel like we've worked together, just not in a coaching or coaching.
I know, and you're usually telling me what to do.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I am a pretty comfortable guy. So I feel like, you don't have to hold any punches or anything like that. So we'll just, yeah.
And I heard that you know at least what the distinction is between a consultant and a coach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you need to be here now and ready to dive in?
I'm just going to proclaim my nervousness. But yeah,
right on.
Let's make it happen.
So do you mind taking a deep breath with me and maybe we'll just diffuse some of that? How about it?
Sounds good.
So in this little bit of time we have together, what is it that's on your mind or something that you'd like to explore?
Mm-hmm. And I think this was the hardest part for me with preparing was like, what am I supposed to talk about? And I think what I came up with was, let's find all those hours and minutes in the day that I keep losing. Because I seem to get to the end of the day and I'm like, my wife and I have a similar problem. And we say like, how is it possible that people have children when we have no children and still we don't have any extra time? Like, how would someone fit a child into a life if this is our life? So I'm trying to figure out where those minutes go. And I think this is also kind of related to productivity, procrastination and stuff like that.
If you actually did have more time, in your day, how would you be using it?
Ooh, interesting question.
Mhm.
Um, I'd hate to say that I'd be working more, but I do enjoy my work. But um, I'm wondering if my question or my proposal here isn't quite right. Maybe it's not that I need more minutes, that I need to spend, that I need to feel better about the way I'm spending
Yeah.
time.
So something about the way things are right now isn't sitting quite right with you in this moment in time.
Right.
You put a finger on what that experience is, how you're feeling it.
Um, I think it's partly just finding myself, and actually you got to witness a little bit of this. I think it was yesterday when I sent the email, and it was, I think 2 hours had passed between the point where I started writing the email and when I stopped. And I was at a coffee shop and I just done all these different things and kept intending to do one thing, but I was like, oh, I need to do X, Y, or Z. And so a lot of just shifting gears and being maybe inefficient with time,
Mhm.
um, distracted, and not necessarily doing the thing that would be the best use of my time.
Hmm. How are you determining what the best use of your time is?
Um, Perhaps it's a lack of guilty feeling. Like I usually get that. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just went down that rabbit hole.
Mhm.
That was not the best use of my time. Like I feel like I don't have a huge clarity. My business, it might be good to understand my business just a little bit. So I have um, projects where I do videos for clients, some of them ongoing clients. Um, I also have a lot of affiliate revenue where I'm making videos about products, and that's all fun, and it's actually making a big chunk of my income right now. And then I have my YouTube channel about moving to Mexico, which is going to be my future revenue. And so a lot of times I'm I'm in the wrong, not the wrong, but I'm in a spot where I'm like, oh, should I really be doing this Amazon thing? Like when I was supposed to be finishing the email to you, I got stuck somehow in an Amazon, I read an article that said you can look at the best sellers, and those are good videos to make. And so I was going through, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I've just gone down this huge rabbit hole of looking at bestsellers on Amazon, trying to determine which one I can make money off of. And that did not feel like a good use of my time, for instance.
Hmm. Hmm. It served some purpose.
Yeah.
So
It,
what's
it,
the guilt? What's the guilt?
I think that's the guilt. It's the purpose was to help me identify what I shouldn't have been doing at that point in time.
Yeah, so it occurs to me there's lots of things going on right now.
Mhm.
There's a couple inner voices. I'm hearing a couple different things. That you're telling yourself sort of a story around this. And but there's something that's not settled in you about this kind of, it sounds like, ongoing behavior.
Yes.
Mhm. Hmm. So, in our time together, what would a successful shift look like?
Boy, I'm struggling here. I don't want to say it's to get rid of that guilty feeling, because the guilty feeling is there for probably a good reason. Um, I mean, and I'm not sure we can in this half hour, uh, solve my productivity uh, issues. But yeah, how do I, as a new coachee, how do I even determine? that.
So if you really look at how you're feeling right now and how you were feeling yesterday when you noticed 2.5 hours had gone by or whatever, what is the experience you're having?
I mean, guilt's the only word that I can come up with. And maybe it's not even guilt. Maybe it's more shame. To be like, oh, that was dumb of me to have spent my time doing that versus any other thing I could have been doing.
So there was some self-criticism going on there. There's sort of a critical voice that
Yeah.
something that made you feel off.
Right.
I mean, you could have said, oh, 2.5 hours went by and I learned a whole bunch of stuff. Now I better get back to my email. You didn't say that.
Yep.
So what do you think is really, what's really underneath all this?
Now I'm thinking of spending time with my therapist and my father, like how to like not waste time and get stuff done, and
Yeah.
Midwestern roots of get it done.
Yeah.
Don't
So
play. Don't mess around. Work comes first. So all that swirling in there.
So when you hear kind of that influence, those voices of influence, how's that sit with you right now?
I feel like it's interesting. I just saw the other day, I was unpacking everything and I came across this little button that said play. And that's all it said. And I remembered where I got it was at actually an ICF event, I believe, where they were doing an ICF Oregon event where they were doing improv training, which is very playful. And I think that's maybe where I'm going, is that missing part that we talked about earlier is play. And instead of getting my work done to then go play, I am interspersing distraction into the middle of my work so that my workday ends at 11 p.m.
Yeah, and that I hear that. And so then that distraction, is that a version of play, or what exactly is going on when that happens?
I mean, maybe it is a little, it's very what's the word? Very not fun play. But
okay.
it's not necessarily work. I mean, it might be reading CNN.com or something is another place where I find myself very distracted. So I don't know if they're habits.
Yeah. What's important about play to you?
I think just the idea that life is short and play is an important aspect of enjoyment of life.
So what's occurring to me right now as I'm kind of hearing you talk through this is you lit up actually when you were talking about playing, getting that little button. There was an energy about you that I experience from you a lot when you're doing your video work and when you're reporting about your Mexico, it's different than when you were talking about what sounded like to me the shoulds and this is, So what's occurring to me is there's an external influence going on. Do you feel something like that?
I feel like at 49.9 years old, I think I've internalized all that external influence of my father and whatnot. So it's built in pretty well.
It's built in pretty well. And that's that's what you've taken on. What do you hear yourself really wanting more of?
It's joy. I was going to say fun, but it's not necessarily that, but it's joy. It's that smile on your face, the feeling, the warmth inside.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. More of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know when you're in that state of being?
I mean, that's a hard one because I don't think it's not obvious once you're inside it. It's
Uh-huh.
usually a something you look back on to say, or something that I look back on to say, "Oh God, that was so much fun." You know, that dinner or whatever, we were out, we were laughing, we were, you know, really just having a good time.
And when those times are recalled, it brings up a feeling in you. Do you
Hmm.
think that is? Can you identify that?
I feel. I mean, it's strange. I feel like I feel like I'm wanting to smile. It's like in my cheeks of like, you know, remembering the fun
Yeah,
times.
yeah, that's great. All right. So, as far as what I'm hearing you say is that it would be that there's something that you would like to understand a little bit better that would have you making choices that are a little different than you're making now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you suspect is a culprit to some of this lack of production in your eyes, or maybe your someone else's eyes,
Hmm.
um, or that procrastination?
And it may get down to, I mean, this might be kind of like an organized, having something that I need to look forward to, you
Hmm.
know, to say like, okay, that time is we have a roommate right now. He rented our house while we were gone, and we have a little 1 month overlap, and he was out last night playing softball. Um, and I was like, oh yeah, that was fun back in the days. He's younger than us. We'd play kickball and things like that. And so there was like that organized time,
Mhm.
and it was, you know, like they had to get to that, get
Mhm.
there. It was on the agenda,
Mhm.
and had to get everything done in order to get to that point.
Okay. So noticing that there's time carved out for that.
Yeah.
And what do you see in that for yourself?
So, two things. I mean, clearly the need to carve time, but then the need to put something in that
Mm-hmm.
time, to have something to put there. Because a lot of the stuff, I mean, my work is fun. It's my business. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to edit a video about taking a tour of La Paz, and that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a, oh, what did Sarah call it? Not a work-life balance, but a work-life harmony or something like that.
Yeah, it's like you're weaving your fun and playfulness into a lot of the work you're doing. But that missing piece,
Hmm.
it's almost like that type of play that you're talking about, or that space that you're wanting. What is it for?
It's I think where the joy comes in.
Okay, so that's slightly different in flavor.
Yeah. Then you know, it's fun and whatnot to make videos, but it's not necessarily joyful.
Hmm.
So
How is that different for you?
I think interaction is important.
Mhm.
It's hard to be joyful on your own.
Is it?
uh, Maybe if you're in some very uh, inspirational areas, maybe it's a little easier. But I think joy is easier experienced
So
with others.
I'm hearing a value around sharing
Yeah,
and sharing, enjoying it with others.
yeah, um, yeah. That there needs to be something. It needs to be planned out. That I need to
Mhm.
create joy.
Mm.
Um, and that kind of like that reminds me of the play. Like playing, doing the improv stuff
Mhm.
um, was joyful. It
Mhm.
was interactive with other people, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it feels like there's some incentive here to actually put some attention on how will you bring more of that in for yourself.
Mhm.
Right as I asked you that, I had this thought like, well, then back to the very beginning when you said finding time, finding minutes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what I have is that, like, if there was something to fill the time, it'd be a lot easier for me to, in my head, say,
Oh,
no, no, this is, don't do that. We're going to do something better later. So there's going to be something more joyful that's coming up. So get your work done.
hmm. So I'm hearing that voice again.
Uh oh.
So that taskmaster voice. It's like, but you did say, I want to look forward to something. It needs to be,
Yeah.
it needs to be in place. It needs to make sense to you
Hmm.
so that you can what?
So that I can. So I've got, let's say, my everyday quick kickball league or something that's happening every night at 8 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, it not only it puts in a spot for joy, but I think it also helps on the other end of being smart about my productivity and being
Uh,
purposeful.
mhm, mhm,
Because it's, I mean, I'm really good at completing projects by the deadline, but
mhm.
if there's not a deadline, I'm not so good at it. So I think this essentially the joy time is the deadline that, and I'm happy when I'm productive. I mean, it's a good thing. And I get rid of the little guilty voice. So it's almost a double win,
Yeah.
is to stay productive, stay on task. So I'm not like, I mean, today there's so much negative stuff in the world that you can get sucked into, and I get sucked into some of that. So there's many wins there.
Oh. How are you with prioritizing yourself in this way?
Um, oops. I'm not quite sure um, how to answer that,
Yeah.
because myself and my business are so tied in together.
Uh-huh.
So it's not clear what's
Yeah.
separate.
Hmm. So, in the conversation so far, I'll check in with you. What has been uncovered or what has shown itself here in our conversation that feels important to you?
I think it's the need for the intentionality of adding joy, and coming up with a way to make it happen. If that's more going out with friends, if that's more, scheduling time with my wife, if it's more kind of that stuff, that seems to be easy to let go. Or to have that time and then to fill it with something like, oh, we need to plan that trip to Wisconsin and, that kind of thing. So,
so what needs to be different in the way you approach this so that you can actually give it a good try to see what might be different?
That is a great question. And I struggle around the whole, like, what is the joy and how to find it, and what are the steps I need to take to find it. Commitment, obviously, now that I've kind of uncovered, what is missing, at least now I know what to look for. But yeah, now, kind of in terms of concrete steps, yeah. Besides intentionality, I'm not sure.
It's almost a question's popping up for me. Maybe something that you could be asking yourself on a regular basis. It's like, when does joy show up for me? It's not a pat answer, or maybe can you think of a question that's even a better one to ask yourself to keep you noodling on this?
Yeah, it's almost like a bedtime practice of, like, instead of a gratitude journal, a joy journal. Did I get to experience that today? What were those things? And I think one of the things about a gratitude journal is, of course, there's always something you should be grateful for. But if we're looking for joy, it may or may not have happened that day. And that's okay. But I think it's a good way to gauge it.
To gauge it and to notice what's already there. Because a minute ago you said to go out and seek it. And yet what I'm hearing is maybe raising the awareness a little bit on, when does it show up? Where does it show up?
Right.
Maybe it shows up more than I'm giving it credit for.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's really missing.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think that's a good first step.
Feel like a doable thing for you? Does that feel like something that you could actually gift yourself with a commitment around?
Yeah, I feel that is something. Yeah. I felt like trying to commit to finding that everyday kickball league was too much. Like, but finding where it is in my life now and better understanding that so that I can create more of it is a much more achievable.
Shifted for me in your demeanor. What just happened as you sort of downsize that potential?
It seems possible.
Yeah. Does it stretch you enough?
If I truly commit to it, yes.
Will you truly commit to it?
Yes.
So that you can learn more about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any other thing that you can imagine will support you as you're really exploring what joy means to you, but also that piece about considering carving out some time for yourself so you have something to look forward to?
I feel like once I've found the joy, that carving the time out won't be difficult. Once it's identified.
So besides the multiple wins that already exist in that scenario that you painted,
right,
you'll have the fuel behind it, or
exactly, a reason.
You said earlier, being purposeful.
Yep.
It is what helps you be productive.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Did we miss anything here?
I don't think so.
So what, if you're taking away something of value that you can hold on to, what is it in your words?
It's that I need more joy. And it felt like something completely different when we started this session.
I know. And again, besides feeling the smile bursting, from your cheeks, how will you know when you've touched on it or found it?
I think it's going to be that reflection time
Yeah.
each night to see if it did happen. Because I think it's so easy to reflect back on. So it's easy to remember those good times, just doing it on a daily basis.
So knowing what you've told me, that little bit about you and procrastination and various things, what could potentially get in your way that's going to, slow down this process that you want to be aware of?
I think just the not doing it. Like, it's a simple thing. It's also a simple thing to skip. So
it's a simple thing to skip. And so how meaningful is it to you?
It's meaningful. And I think that I need to tie it to something.
Yeah.
And I think maybe tying it to brushing my teeth at night might be the easiest thing to tie it to.
Like one of those little micro skills, that they call it tasks where you're trying to retrain a micro habits.
That's micro habit. Yeah.
You tie it to something that is like automatic.
Right. Yeah. I've already got the habit of brushing my teeth every night. I might as well put more into that time. Yeah, that's easier, I think, than doing it in bed.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
All righty then. So, and do you need any support from me or anyone, your wife or anyone, to help you stay accountable?
No, I think I'll stay accountable to Colgate.
Remember, that's great. And remember those multiple wins. And that really struck me when you said that there were so many layers of wins in that, finding that joy.
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
Anything else you need to say to feel complete today?
No, this was a wonderful, great first coaching session.
Thank you for allowing me to be your coach today.
Very good. So that was my first coaching experience, my first real coaching experience, and I'm definitely impressed and have a list of things to do. So for a list of things to do, there is a video up here, and that is if you are a coach and you want to watch a mentor coach review this video in terms of the ICF standards. And down here, there's a video if you are considering coaching and you're looking for how did this session really go? What was going on? We're going to have someone review this video from the point of view of a new coaching client.